I love Tesla. We've been investing in Tesla for 8 years now, since 2014. Made about 20 times their money, made about $6 or $7 billion on a $380 million investment. I think we're going to make 3 to 5 times our money again over the next 10 years. I am so excited. The next 10 years, I think that Tesla is going to be the largest company in the world. And in the 10 years after that, I think it'll be challenged by SpaceX. Basically, I look at Tesla, and everyone talks about competition in Tesla, right? Aren't they going to be, but even my wife says to me, Ron, everyone's going to have electric cars. Of course they're going to have electric cars. There would not be any electric cars were it not for Elon Musk, none. And so what he's doing that other people can't possibly do is that he is making so he's investing now in a plant that makes 1 million cars a year, about $7 billion. Every time he puts up one of these 1 million car plants, he's making $7 billion. It's costing him $7 billion. When they have that plant up, right, that produces 1 million cars, the gross profit per car is about $15,000. So basically, right now, so he's selling something for $50 that costs him $35. That means that every time he invests $7 billion, this is the most profitable company in the entire world. Every time you invest $7 billion, he's making $15 billion a year. Other
I appreciate that.
Make 10.
Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Zachariah L. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Some quick context from yesterday. Elon said criticism, public or private, is welcome after we go to the wide beta. Early beta has many known issues. The reason we release it to a limited number of cars is to discover unknown issues. Rational ETN then asked Elon to apologize to James, and Elon said, no, let me make something clear. James contacted me directly to be included in the early beta, which is only around 1,000 cars, mostly employees. Early beta explicitly has issues or it would be rolled out widely, so publicly criticizing something he had asked for is wrong. Thought it was important context. Some of you may have seen it yesterday, but Sawyer actually suggested this very feature. Now, I'm not saying Tesla built this overnight. They were obviously working on this. However, now in the Tesla app, if you scroll down, you see send feedback. When you click that, it brings you here. You can select component. I'll show you those options in a second. Select the severity of the specific problem. You can describe the issue in a text box, and you can also include a screenshot. And just briefly showing you the component drop-down options to give you an idea of what type of things you can select. That list is continued with things like DC charging, the exterior of the vehicle, games, GPS, infotainment, key fob, motors, navigation, sensors, radio, safety, you get the picture. This right here is beautiful, and hopefully over the next few years, more people now, instead of going to Twitter to voice their concerns and complaints and tagging Elon in everything, they now have a new direct way to contact the Tesla team to let them know things they would like to see changed. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but that's my hope. And the best part about this whole thing, Tesla's actually a company that can do something about all of this feedback it's receiving. Now, maybe not all of it, but oftentimes it will have the capability to do a software update and send it and update the cars in real time as they continue to get this feedback. Best news of the day, in my opinion, Tesla has sent a cease and desist letter to Dan O'Dowd. Just a note, this letter was indeed written by Dina Eskin, who currently has the title Deputy General Counsel, not David Searle. Either way, it has come to our attention that you personally and the Dawn Project have been disparaging Tesla's commercial interests and disseminating defamatory information to the public regarding the capabilities of FSD. We demand you immediately cease and desist further dissemination of all defamatory information, issue a formal public retraction within 24 hours, and provide Tesla with the below demanded documentation. The full letter will be linked below, or you can pause the screen and read it here. Dina just goes on in this part to talk about how, in reality, Tesla's vehicles are incredibly safe, including FSD, and the test that the Dawn Project was running was very flawed. And here's the list of Tesla's demands. We already talked about 1. 2, immediately remove the videos under the caption test track from the Dawn Project website and anywhere else. 3, issue a public retraction. 4, disclose all sources of funding for the purported tests in the commercial, including whether any campaign funds were used or whether you were funded by Tesla's competitors. That's a good one. And 5, disclose all recognized regulatory agencies that endorsed your testing methodology and or results. And finally, Tesla will exercise all legal remedies available to it in the event of your non-compliance. One more time. Of course, we don't need Tesla tied up in any more legal battles right now, but if I'm being honest, I would really enjoy seeing Tesla's new Streetfighter legal team to try to serve some justice to Dan O'Dowd and the Dawn Project for everything they've did defaming Tesla. I think most of us can agree that between inflation and super high demand, it's put Teslas out of reach for many people. That's part of why I've linked up with CharityStars, the sponsor of today's video, to bring you the chance to win a brand new Performance Model 3. CharityStars is a fundraising platform that helps raise money for charitable causes. This time around, donations will benefit the Guardian Group, an organization fighting against sex trafficking here at home in the United States. You can enter in a matter of seconds. Just head to CharityStars.com/electrified, choose your donation level, then you'll enter a brief amount of information and you're in. And don't forget, my coupon code Electrified will get you 500 free entries. Taxes and shipping will be included for United States winners, but this is indeed a global sweepstakes, so anyone can enter. 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, 315 miles of range, the Uber turbine wheels. So yeah, sign me up for this one any day. So if you'd like to support the channel, support a great cause, and have the chance to win a Performance Model 3, just head to CharityStars.com/electrified, linked in the description below, and my coupon code Electrified will be automatically applied at checkout for 500 free entries. Best of luck. There were some reports today saying Tesla signed a new $745 million deal with LG Innotek for camera modules for all vehicles across the lineup coming out of Giga Texas now and in the future. However, I'm not sure this is really news. If we go back to June, you may remember this news story that we talked about, a $4 billion deal for cameras with Tesla and Samsung. In that article, it said, per the agreement, Samsung will supply 80% of camera modules used by Tesla, with LG Innotek to deliver the remaining 20%. Either way, no new detail was really given. Officially today, Tesla stock has split, and naturally there are plenty of articles talking about why Tesla did it, saying they did it due to things like once dependable tactics to boost valuations. No, this is wrong. The main, and I would argue potentially only reason Tesla did this again, primarily intended to help the company offer every employee the option of receiving equity and to give employees flexibility in managing their equity. This all has to do with the employee stock purchase program. Elon has basically zero interest in artificially boosting Tesla's stock price in the short term. He doesn't care to play those games like other companies do. This article from S&P Global was trending today, just talking about how incredible and impressive Tesla's brand loyalty has been so far this year, and it continues to get better. But we actually talked about this a few weeks ago. It's not really news. So I'll put the article below if you missed it, and you can pause the screen if you want to read this part. Big shout out to Nitzau for compiling this list of all of the updated analyst price targets after Tesla's stock split. So once again, go ahead and pause the screen if you'd like to read it, and I'll give you a slow scroll. Just to highlight the names at the very top of this list, the usual suspects very active in the Tesla community. Here we have a few updates that I got from a friend. Cato Road is under new management after some pretty big organizational changes, and now Cato Road, the 4680 test pilot, is targeting 10 gigawatt hours of production in terms of an annualized run rate by Q2 of 2023. This is enough for around 1,500 cars per week of 4680 supply, and right now all of the 4680 supply is coming from Cato Road, nothing yet from Texas in terms of production level 4680s. Also, Hardware 4 has been confirmed in trial production as of a few weeks ago, so it looks like Hardware 4 is ready to go, which is honestly super exciting. It was supposed to be ready for the Cybertruck, but it sounds like it's ahead of schedule, so a production release of that could be imminent. Tesla's Hardware 3 came out around the middle of 2019, and at that time, Tesla said they were already working on Hardware 4, so this is over 3 years of development in the making. To everybody with Hardware 3, don't forget what Elon said, and I usually wouldn't recommend waiting for new features in a Tesla because it's happening all the time. If I'm being honest though, personally, a new hardware upgrade like this would be one that if I could, I would try to wait and get the new one. When Hardware 4 is officially in production vehicles, of course, the hope is that there will be retrofits available. Just something to be aware of for now. Very exciting upgrade. Jace Zampini, Tesla's Supercharger design lead in Canada, gave us an update. Designing and building EV infrastructure in Canada is a special calling. We're a great big country with a lot of roads. Canadians are transitioning to EVs very quickly. On occasion, it can get chilly and we see some snow. This is why Tesla is doubling our specialized Canadian team to lead the charge from coast to coast. On Tesla's website, you will already see numerous positions available with keyword Supercharger in Canada. And notice how a few of these are indeed in Vancouver. As far as I can tell, in Canada, that's one of the most densely populated areas with Tesla owners, which has also one of the fewest amounts of Supercharger locations. Excellent news for Canadians, and don't forget, hopefully by the end of this year, they will now be charging at these DC fast chargers per the energy used, not the time you're sitting at the Supercharger. We got an exclusive report from teslamag.de on the production rate at Giga Berlin. Curiously, they say first, production has now reached 18 to 1900 Model Ys per week. Scrolling down though, you'll see this update. Another source said that production was at last or at least 1,300 to a maximum of 1,500 Model Ys per week. Either way, the long-range share of that number should rise to around 90%, meaning the remaining 10% would be for the performance variant. And on the paint shop, which previously has held things up to some degree, from a technical point of view, it's now able to switch between all colors. However, final tones have not yet been determined, and they're still doing testing outside of white and black. Tesla is set to send its biggest shipment of cars, around 4,000, mostly Model 3s and some Model Ys, to Israel. The article says these cars should reach the area before a planned purchase tax hike for EVs. You may wonder, why would they do that? The main reason is still to try to limit the vehicle congestion on the roads. There are some other EV incentives like lower costs for license plates, so those will kind of be offset by this new purchase tax hike. Forewarning, this is one of those articles that when you read it, it may give you a visceral reaction. It did for me this morning, so I'm just gonna give it to you and let you react how you will. These comments coming from Jack Hollis, Toyota's North American Executive VP of Sales. The United States 50% EV goal for 2030 is a long shot due to a lack of consumer demand. In a recent webinar, Hollis said he did not believe these goals were realistic. BEVs cost too much and the infrastructure is not yet there. I don't think the market is ready, I don't think the infrastructure is ready, and even if you were ready to purchase one and if you could afford it, they're still too high. It took 25 years to get less than 10% market share for hybrids, which is affordable, which is done with resources that are available. The consumer isn't demanding it at that level. The consumer is not screaming 30-40% by tomorrow. And when you start pushing consumers into things they're not ready for, some other consequence will occur. I could say so much about this, but I will leave it at the demand is definitely there for EVs for at least some companies. Maybe Toyota's not one of them. And this type of attitude from a VP at Toyota is absurd to me. Rather than trying to be a part of the solution and help move this movement forward, they're just throwing their hands up and saying it's too hard, it's not gonna work, like crying like a little child. Moving on, Kim Java did a good video on Rivian. She accidentally broke the glass on the roof of this car, and apparently this has happened to a few people. It's not like people were jumping on the roof, it was really just her kind of sitting or pressing on it lightly. This of course could potentially be a very dangerous thing in the event of rollovers. Remember, Ford just got dinged for almost $2 billion because of the F-250s having roofs that were too weak. So if you're in the market for an R1T, just be aware. Ford is raising prices on the Mach-E between $3,000 and $8,000. This should come as no surprise. Ford literally told us recently they're not profitable on the Mach-E. They're not going to keep making cars at a loss for very long, especially when the demand is high. I just want to highlight the cheapest model is now around $48,000. Ford has also increased its shipping charge up to $1,300 from $200 on all models, and this will go into effect for new orders starting Tuesday. Those who have existing unscheduled 2022 model year orders will receive a private offer to convert to a 23 model year vehicle. You can interpret news like this one of two ways. You can say it's great, GM's going to make it work and not do layoffs, or you could say this probably isn't great as they're not willing to do what it takes to make it through this revolution. The Lucid footprint in Arizona is set to expand. Currently, it's around 600 acres, and now the government has bought an additional 1,400 acres that's going to be for Lucid expansion. Construction of this expansion should start in 2023, but the project could extend into 2025. Mercedes is now officially building its first crossover EV SUV in the United States, the GLS. This plant will continue to build gasoline-powered versions of the GLE and the GLS alongside the BEV version. It's set to have a 107.8 kilowatt-hour battery delivering around 400 miles of range. Here's a quick image of the Kia EV9 that's set to have a full debut in Q1 of next year. Might be the flagship SUV for Kia, currently being tested in South Korea. Honda is set to cut its production output by 40%, starting as soon as next month in Japan. No surprise as to why. If you want to learn more about Tesla's recent Dojo presentation from the Hot Chips conference, this is one of the better videos I've seen so far from Anastasia in Tech. Of course, linked below. I was going to give you highlights, but it's one of those videos, it's better if you just watch the whole thing because there's a lot of good information. Don't forget, check out CharityStars, linked below. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.